I stopped using Twitter many years ago. I barely, if ever, put anything these days on Instagram. And Facebook is, only used to put up my videos, and even then I forget to use it. I have effectively left Facebook other than sharing my video content, as I say. Social media. Do I regret not using it? No, not at all. I mean, I'm here on YouTube. This seems to be a relatively safe and fun place to be on, in my personal opinion. But social media, all of these things that you shove up publicly and share your opinion and then get shout down and have to have incredible thick skin, or Facebook, in which you are constantly shown a drivel of pictures of people who you have no idea, who are somehow wanting to be your friend for, I don't really understand why they want to be your friend, and then watch whatever nonsense you put up, sort of a post of elation about something that, a new car they've bought, or a cake they've eaten, or the breakfast they've just enjoyed at some restaurant somewhere, or the glorious life that they're very much enjoying that you're not, and you're not part of because you're going through some mental crisis, or in fact they're putting up pictures of them going through their mental crisis, or they're remembering a past parent that perhaps 2 years ago to the very day they died, and they need a little bit of support from everybody around them to say, oh, I'm really sorry about that. I'm sorry your father died on this day 16 years ago. It's a shame that you haven't got over it, but well done. And all of this, I don't really understand that process. I don't understand why people want to take photographs of their children just going out the door to school and need the need to share those photographs of something which is a very personal and private a thing, I would have thought. And so I don't do social media anymore. I got on it. I shared too much. I put in points of view. I got shouted. I can tell you, doing just this type of thing on YouTube, where you've got the comments where people will rear their ugly heads and say whatever they damn well like to you, is bad enough. But to spread yourself over a number of different channels and put yourself up really to be shot down or have your opinion ridiculed or questioned, or whether you've got something wrong, or whether the syntax of your sentence is wrong, or you spelt a word wrong and somebody somewhere, or you've got a slight fact on something, just perhaps confused as you tap out those things, and somebody somewhere is coming out and going, oh no, Richard, you got that wrong, I'm sorry, there's an I before the E in that word. And it's just like, my goodness, really? Have people really not got much of a life, that they're sitting on their computer waiting for somebody to get something slightly wrong and all of that? It's a bizarre thing. Are you on social media? Do you enjoy social media? What aspect of social media do you get something out of? Because I'm beginning, as I get older and probably less wiser, that it's really not for me. I love the YouTube. I enjoy watching YouTube. I enjoy watching people making their YouTube things. I rarely read any of the comments other than my own comments on other people's channels. I don't really get that. People enjoy reading other people's comments on other people's channels. I mean, I respond to mine as much as I can and as much as I've got time for. But if I've watched an enjoyable video, let's say of, I don't know, somebody walking over the Himalayas on a camel with 3 dodos attached to a small spherical object that has been trailing them for the last 6 days. I don't know what I'm talking about now. I enjoy the video. It's very nice. Thank you very much. Oh, that was lovely. I might even, if I'm feeling up to it, and it's very rare for me to write a comment and say, oh, yes, I very much enjoyed that. Thank you very much. But I'm not really inclined to know what other people thought about it. Why should I? These are people I've never heard of. Sometimes, though, on very rare occasions, I suppose, I might just look to see the first couple of comments and see if people have realised, if there's something glaringly wrong, if somebody has said, oh, the moon is definitely made of cheese, I've actually got proof of it, I might look to see if other people have realised, this is actually a joke. It's not real. This person is taking the mickey. Or I'm not sure if this person is actually taking the mickey and whether really... Do people... Oh, no, it does look like he's genuine. Okay, but I'm not somebody who will sit there for hours on end reading the comments, because I don't know what benefit it gets me reading somebody else's videos, comments. My comments, as I say, of course, they are of value to me that people are enjoying what I do, and I imagine that every YouTube creator will do the same. But things like Facebook, I think Facebook is just a place of evil content mostly. Now, you may think not. You may want to argue against it. I knew somebody who was a member of about 15,472 completely different groups and spent most of her life just answering questions or posting in all these groups. And you think, for goodness sake, why don't you close your computer down and get outside and do something a little bit more interesting instead? Used to be a television called Why Don't You Switch Off Your Television and Do Something More Interesting instead, which made a lot of sense to me. I got rid of my television in the end because I didn't want the mainstream media to be telling me how to think. Particularly now, as a lot of people, it seems, no longer believe in believe in the mainstream media anymore, and so the government and their messaging is now coming through things like soaps and TV dramas, because that's an easier way to get your message about, say, I don't know, the benefits of taking a jab in some way that might be a benefit, by making the characters in a seemingly real situation argue skewed points about why such a thing might be of advantage to, I don't know, a 10-year-old who may not need something for a non-life-threatening disease that's having no effect on him and is in fact more likely to give him danger than if he takes it. But through the drama of a scripted scene in some soap opera or an ongoing series, it seems that's much more powerful than somebody sitting behind a desk with so-called authority on the 6 o'clock news telling you that it's a very good idea that you take these things, because we're now beginning to think, actually, do you know what? I don't think you know what you're talking about, seeing as we've had 2 years of a pandemic. And actually, the truth is now leaking out that locking people down in their homes was perhaps not such a good idea as we first thought. Although I dare say as we get towards winter, there will be some people who just cannot bear the fact that they got it wrong and they got carried away and swept up with it during the last 2 years, will still say, oh, well, I think we should be locking down because this virulent disease that's causing no harm to anybody might mutate. It might mutate and mean that you'll die in your bed. Well, we'll see. It'll be interesting to do it. But I'm interested in the social media. Sorry, I'm waffling around as ever. Social media. Are you part of it? I TikTok. I was encouraged because I thought somebody said it would be a good idea to be on TikTok. And I set up an account. But I set up an account. This is ridiculous, but I set up an account. I put one video on it and no idea really how it's gone. I've never looked back. I haven't actually, apart from the person who told me to set up the account, and I thought, well, maybe I am missing out. That sort of, it's new, it's something. I've not looked at anybody else's TikToks. I don't know what people... for me, the whole process of making a video in an upright thing is the most ludicrous situation at all. Why would you make a video where it is in a portrait mode? I just don't get it. I can understand you might make a video in the corporate world for signage, when you're walking, say, up the escalators of the underground and they want to grab your attention, or it's on a bus stop because of the shape of those posters generally are in a portrait mode. But a video in which you sort of take in whatever it is in normal way, is usually landscape. And the reason is we have two eyes that are set side by side. We see things in landscape. Our peripheral vision tends to be out to the side. We tend to look that way. We don't tend to look up and down. So I never quite understand why, when filming, you've suddenly taken a slice of life and you've made it incredibly difficult to film. And yet, of course, people still hold their phones like this. Oh, yeah, sure. How many people have been out there filming the Queen, or her coffin at the very least, as it's passed by in this stupid restricted mode, I wonder, and then placed it on social media for all to see instead of filming it this? I mean, it just drives me bonkers. But anyway, that's a side issue, of course. I have not by any means felt any disadvantage by taking myself off Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and not even, I mean, I have no real concept of what TikTok is about. I don't even do the whatever it is on the YouTube Shorts, which all seems to be a way of limiting your mind, making you turn into, I don't know, sort of a juvenile idiot, that you're watching stuff that has no real value. It's that magpie little shiny thing. Oh, I'm distracted from the real important things of life by looking at this little nonsense shiny thing. I mean, on my YouTube channel, I've seen these shorts, and I think this is what TikTok is, a similar sort of thing. It's just fluff, nonsense. It is diversion from, the hard perils of life. But instead of going, well, there's plenty of other things I could do. I could go and do some gardening. I could clean the house. I could go for a walk. I could read. I could sit and contemplate nature. I could go and look at a tree. I could watch the birds on the bird feeder. Something real. I could actually go and meet people in real life, have a cup of coffee and have a chat, go down to the pub. All right, it's expensive in the pub these days. But I do think that there is some sort of, I don't know whether it's a conspiracy of people gathering together to force us to do this, but I don't really believe all of that. But I just think that the digital world has sort of snowballed in that in its own progression, that we somehow are being funneled, not on purpose by an evil mind, but just the nature of it is funneling us to sit down more frequently on our own and feel that we have everything at our fingertips with these weird electronic slabs of doom that can tell you how to live your life. And the world and his brother can communicate to you without you actually having to lift a finger, and you end up in what is it they call it, a sort of your own bubble of existence. I don't know whether it's anything larger than it's just that the way that we have progressed through the world has just automatically, by the nature of its soul, forcing us to actually communicate in this way, because there's an advantage to it. It's quick, it's easy, it's cheap. We don't have to get off our seats. We can talk to a million friends, and we can look across the world and look at webcams across the world. But ultimately, what is that benefiting us? That's what I don't understand. I'm somebody who enjoys history and reading a little bit about social history. I'm not a historian. I don't have any degrees in any of this nonsense. I didn't go to university. I just am interested. I'm aware that, for example, that in our life in this country, in England, which is my passion, that we have had places of meeting places like pubs and churches, where communities got together and saw real people and shared real stories and had real problems and real tears, and people came to your aid because you could touch them and hold them and feel them, and you could smell them and breathe them in and touch. Well, I've said touch, but you could touch them twice if you so wish. All of that, it was a real thing, and we seem to be, over the last 5 to 20 years, we seem to be moving away from that real, visceral, actual actual bodily contact where, you know, it's wholesome and grubby at the same time. You know, people can have their smells and their fleas and their diseases and coughs and splutters and we're so used to being in a world where you spray surfaces and keep everything so spotlessly clean that you daren't ever catch any sort of disease. And yet at the same time, these people are real and genuine and 100% needy and important, and you can look into their eyes and you can see if they're telling you the truth, or you can see if they're in actual misery, and you can see if they need physical attention and love and devotion and all of that. And it's gritty and it's smelly and it's horrible on that level, but it's real and it's true and it's embracing and it's life, it's giving. It's part of the real world. It's the dirt of the fingernails. It's not worrying about everything being completely sanitized and everything in its space. It's just natural. And it seems to me this digital world is so unnatural, and that we're, as human beings, we're being conditioned. And again, I say this and I repeat this, that I don't know that it's some mastermind behind it or a cabal of people trying to do that. I don't really believe that. I think it looks like that. I think it does feel like that. I just think it's that because we've embraced this weird technology, or this simple, what on the face of it seems like the most advantageous type of way to live, and it kind of makes a sense that we have gravitated into this world that is making us, how can I put this? It's making us lose connection with real things, and that we're living our life through screens. And I don't think it's healthy. I don't think it's healthy at all. We had those 2 years of living through George Orwell's Big Brother, with the nation, with the government telling us that we couldn't leave our houses, and we took that information through screens. We didn't take that information at the village hall, where that dignitary has come in and said, look, I think for the benefit of the health of the village, we should lock ourselves down and we shouldn't get out. And where people go, I don't know that that's a good idea, actually. I would argue we didn't have those meetings where people could get together and actually shake their fists and say, well, where's your evidence? I want to see more of that. We sat there glued to these bloody screens, and we heard somebody who looked smart and talked in some gobbledygook language that we assumed they knew what they were talking about, and kept pointing to graphs and things and telling us, oh yes, that's terrible, we're all going to die in a horrible, miserable death if you meet anybody or even clap your eyes on them. The best process really is if you dig a hole and get down in it and take a special phone that can be, and we will talk to you and tell you when to breathe and when to eat and when to wee and when to poo, and you'll be better off if you just listen to us. And you just think this is an absurdity. It's an absolute absurdity. So I'm not on really much. I mean, I have the accounts. I think it's important to have the accounts. I don't know why I think that. Probably not even important to have the accounts at all on the social media. But it's a barking thing. It's madness. And people, I think, will find it so hard to let go of it because it seems that's their world. I'd be interested in your views on that. Do you escape it? Can you get away from it? Is it important? Have we lost something else? I think we have. I just can't understand it. Maybe I'm the mad one. Maybe I'm the loose cannon. Maybe I'm the one that should be put away and into the idiot. You idiot. You're trying to, stop progress. You're meeting people in real life. Oh, For goodness sake, that's so last century, you idiot phobes. You're behind the curve. You're the trend. You've missed out. You're a nutter. We love sitting in front of. I mean, I am actually sitting in front of screens as we speak. Now, I mean, this is the irony of the thing. Here, look. Can I put that on? There we go. Look, I've got a screen in front of me and another screen over here, and lights and all this sort of nonsense. It is a bit barking, but I only do this so I can communicate with you. And well, this is it. You see, this is the paradox, isn't it? This is the hypocrisy of it all. Anyway, I'd be interested in your thoughts on the social media, and let's see where we go with that. Now, I was interested in your responses to will we ever get back to normal? And in a way, this is part of the same argument. The same debate. So let's see what you say about getting back to normal. Shirley Lynch says, think new normal is that normality changes every week. Great chatty chit chat. You made me laugh because if we didn't laugh, we'd go mad. Thank you, Shirley. Yes, we certainly don't want to not laugh. Laughing at it all. Probably if you laugh at authority, they don't like it. They lose their authority if you laugh at them. But this is where I think, hang on, I'm going off on another tangent here, but this is where I think we've gone wrong, because we don't laugh. People who tell us there are more than one gender, for example, or that we can all be fluid, or all of this, or that we've got to use pronouns and things like that, and we take them seriously. We don't just go, what? Sorry, mate. For years and years and years and years, since man has been around, this has been the case, and you're trying to change things that we knew yesterday to be true, and now you're trying. Why are not people laughing at it? Laugh at them, and their authority just disappears. So you want us to lock up? You want us to stay in? No, don't be silly. You want us to stay in the house and what? You're mad, mate. But we can no longer seem to laugh at these people. I don't understand why we can't. It's a very good point, Shirley. Susie Hazelwood says taking away what is normal is a plan, fully intentional to get people into a state of distrust, despair and depression, because the weird nutters that run the world, I'd just like to know who these people are, that we never see, not politicians, have new plans for us all. But Susie, how do we know they exist? I don't know that they are, as I say, I'm not really convinced that there is a master plan. I feel more, and I may be wrong, and I'm not saying I'm right, I'm just sharing what I feel, and you may laugh at me. Oh, phobes, you just don't know what you're talking about. And that may be true. I probably don't know what I'm talking about. But I do feel that it's like a river. It's like a river when it rains a lot. This is how I see it. It's like a river, and it rains a lot, and a river can change its course. You could argue that your cabal of people who are doing this are digging a new trench and then diverting the river. So we're the public and the people. We are the water in the river, and we're being, going down the river in a normal, natural way. And what happens is you could be saying, and that's what I think you're saying, is that you dig a new trench and the water is going down there and we have no choice. But I don't think it's that. I think that there's a lot of rain and all of that. And the rain is softening up the banks of the river, and the river is taking the line of least resistance. So if the bank crumbles as we progress into this, more modern society with digital technology and what have you, the line of least resistance takes us down this other path, which isn't the old path, because it's easier to do things online. It's easier to have the mainstream media tell us what to think and how to think, because they just have got the advantage now that we're no longer going to the pubs because we can't afford to do that. We're no longer questioning it. I just think it's more that. But that's just my interpretation. I haven't put that over very well, but, Anyway, go back to your email. I'm not sure I'd call it dystopian, but more destabilizing to lay the ground for something new. A savior to swoop in and apparently save us all from near destruction. Of course, it won't be, but just enough to establish the underlying feeling that we're saved from something really bad. Yes, I'm not convinced that's what it is. I think it feels like that. I think it looks a bit like that. But I suppose I have a bit more hope, or maybe I'm just naive. You could be right. Tony Norman says global warming is happening, Richard. Why would you question that? And I would say, Tony Norman, why would you accept it and not question it? All science is questioned. Excuse me, I'm having a slurp. You've got to question the science. You've got to question and say, is it really happening? Is it? I mean, where is it happening? We've been told it's been happening for so long that we kind of are all going, oh, yes, it's happening. And all the time it seems to me that it's all happening. Oh, no, it's not happening today, even though, 20 years ago we were told it was happening. Oh, it's not happening today. No. We were told, a couple of years ago, it would be 12 years and we'd all be underwater and things would be dreadful. We're not. You look at the charts and you go, oh, yeah, well, it was hot 100 years ago and it was hot 200 years ago and there were winds. And nothing has actually changed. But, of course, it depends on what you read. Some people go, oh, this has been like this ever since reports have been kept. And you go, hang on a minute. When did the reports get? Well, from the 1960s. Oh, so before that then, or the 1870s. Oh, I see. So before the 1870s, before actually when things were reported, what was it like? Well, I don't know, because nobody kept the reports before then. Well, so it's only in the last few hundred years that things have been like that. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's always been like that, does it? You can't say you're making it sound like this is a unique thing, that these fluctuations in the climate is bigger than it really is. Again, I don't believe it. I just don't believe it. I don't see it with my own eye. Oh, but we had a day where it went to 41 degrees. Isn't that an indication? What, one day? If it was Christmas and it was 41 degrees, I think you might have a point. Tall Podge Rog says, brilliant, just brilliant, said Richard. I had to attend a seminar at work all about how to address people correctly and not cause offence. For goodness sake, cause as much offence as you possibly can, Crikey, if people can't get a thick skin, ladies and gentlemen, and all you idiots who think that you're not a lady or a gentleman, whatever. The majority of people are ladies and gentlemen, so deal with it. If you can't fit in, find another planet. This is you're getting me going this morning. I'll probably be taken and shackled away now for upsetting some poor soul who is so weak and feeble and they can't sort of deal with life. It is ridiculous. Anyway, you've been on a course. Yes, sorry about that. Address people correctly and not cause offence. Use the use of pronouns. I'm using verbs. I'm changing my verbs. Just tell them I'm not changing my pronouns. I like pronouns. I'm going to change my verbs. I'm happy to change an adjective from time to time if the mood changes me. But I'm not changing my pronouns. Basically, watch your back. Soap operas, don't get me started, yelling, screaming, badly spoken English. I mean, I don't understand why people watch soap operas, a so-called reflection of life. We should be watching things which uplift us, that give us hope, that give us a sense of purpose, a sense of being. Pull yourself up from the pit of sin, not take yourself down. We don't need all of that. Why do we want to watch people having misery and all this sort of nonsense going about? I mean, it's ridiculous. We want to be filling ourselves with aspirations. Look at a real art, for example. Get out into nature. Look at the wonders of out there, not look at depraved people in slums moaning about this, that, and the other. All right, love. I think I speak with determination. Enunciate your words. Pull yourself up. Read something interesting and intellectual. It's surely, that's what humans should be looking for, a better life. not sending them down the plug hole. And that seems to me what the soap operas and all of that sort of do. The Vintage News says normal for me is being able to pay my bills, going social dancing, buying things with cash, and making things in my shed. It's all propaganda these days, so if you've taken the black pill and you see it for what it is, news can be alarming. You have to keep an eye on it, but you find loopholes and exemptions. I recall a time, he says, when a fatal accident was reported as that. In the 90s, post-Diana, the news started using language to tell you to think, so that fatal accidents become a terrible, horrible incident. Just the facts, please, on the news. It's a very good point. The language used is just ridiculous. Crispin Loves to Dance says nothing is normal since COVID-19, but we can be normal. We can reject it. This is what I'm trying to get at. You know, the social media and all of that. We can reject it. We can just go, look, I'm just not dealing with this. This is why I read. I read books, particularly books written some time ago when there was some sense of normality rather than people trying to tell you how to influence your lives. Joe Froud says, I'm afraid we're walking into a dystopian world, and the sad thing is that most people don't even realise it. Yes, probably true. Probably true if we allow it to happen. But we don't have to allow it to happen. I think we just have to change our outlook and decide, you know what? I'm shoving that over to the side. I'm not having that. I'm going to stay happy. I'm going to stay and encourage everybody. Everybody should be evangelical to positive things, to looking on the bright side and get rid of this sort of nonsense and embracing one another. Go and actually hold somebody's hand, smell their lurid breath, and be happy. I want to know about your social media habits. Do you believe in it? Do you still use it? Are you waning? Has it lost its shine? Do you think it's relevant? Or are you just one of those people who sees a comment and gets, oh, do you know what? Oh, that's put me in a mood. When if you didn't look at the bloody thing, you wouldn't necessarily have to be in a blinking mood, would you? I'd be interested to read your views on social media and its merits and its curses. Till next time, thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.